To the Tuga, the Everything Portuguese Soccer Show. It's by the fans, for the fans. Christian, Mitch, I'm Kevin. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we have a very busy show because we are about 2 weeks away, not even from, less than 2 weeks away from the World Cup qualifier playoffs. Portugal taking on Turkey, the winner to take on North Macedonia or Italy. A lot to get to. Before we do, we need to start off the only way we can by talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, the world record holder. He nets his 807th career goal. With that hat trick against Tottenham, Cristiano Ronaldo becomes the all-time leading goal scorer in men's soccer with 807 goals for club and country. His first goal scored October 7th, 2002, 20 years ago against Moreirense, and that was back when he was with Sporting. So, pretty remarkable when you consider he's 37 years old and he's still getting this job done, which then before we even get to Mitch talking about Cristiano Ronaldo with the Portuguese national team, but just quickly though, that hat trick, Cristiano Ronaldo, he's been in and out of form all season, but wow, yesterday he just turned out quite a performance.
I think he shut a lot of people up, man. Yeah. This team, there's been so much going on about Man United with what's wrong with this team, and Ronaldo being, a lot of people pointing at Ronaldo as him being the reason why this team doesn't click. And I think we've talked a lot about this, that the problems with Man United go way deeper than Cristiano Ronaldo. They were there long before he got there, and they'll likely be there long after he leaves. And yeah, Ronaldo brings some interesting dynamics to the dressing room, just with his age, his ego, his status. It presents challenges for any manager to try and manage him. And Rangnick kind of alluded to that yesterday in his press conference after the game. He straight out said that Ronaldo was very difficult to manage. We still don't know exactly why he wasn't at the Manchester derby. Was it injury? Was it a riff with Rangnick? Nobody really knows. They're saying it was a hip flexor. I don't know. Ronaldo didn't look like somebody coming off a hip flexor injury yesterday. So, was it a little bit of a riff with Rangnick? Potentially. So I think, again, this team's got a lot of problems. Take Ronaldo's hat trick aside, Manchester United played like shit yesterday. Defensively, they were in shambles once again. Like, they were giving up way too many opportunities to Tottenham. They were just not playing well. The team as a whole did not play well outside of the hat trick. So, again, to sit there and try to point the finger at Cristiano Ronaldo. Yesterday, Cristiano Ronaldo took a very, very mediocre-looking Man United side, put them on his back, and said, "Here you go, boys." And that's exactly what Cristiano Ronaldo can do. Can he
remember
do it?
that,
Is it
Mitch,
something
when we
he
have
can
this
do?
conversation later?
No, and I'm getting there. But is it something he does and he's been doing week in, week out? No. Nobody can sit here, as amazing as his performance was yesterday, nobody can sit here and say Ronaldo has been in peak form this year, because he hasn't. He hasn't. He's had a lot of subpar performances, even to his standards for United. Yesterday just proves what he can still do for the team, but that he is not the issue with United.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of your points.
Hey guys, just really quick, and this is the joys of live podcasting. Turn that microphone, just shift it a little bit more here.
Yeah,
there you go. Perfect, excellent. Thanks, boys. All right, go ahead, Christian. You were really quiet for way too long.
Yeah, no, I feel like Mitch touched up on a lot of good points. I don't know if you heard the Conte post game interview. He said the only reason Man United won was because of Cristiano Ronaldo. That's what he brings. Honestly, that's what he brings. There was a lot of controversy with him last week about the Manchester derby. Some were saying that he didn't get the start, so then he was upset and then said he had an injury and he didn't go to the game altogether. That being said, I was listening to DAZN right after the game, and there was a former coach on there. He was saying that if you have Cristiano Ronaldo on your team at 37 years old, use him. He should be a sponge for everybody. I don't care what you have to do to get this guy going. Do it. He's 37 years old, club legend. He's only going to be around for a couple of years. That's what he brings. That's why a lot of teams play around him. He's lethal. He's dangerous. He's a game winner. Manchester United, I don't think they're in the position to not have Cristiano Ronaldo, make him happy. There's certain players on that team that, don't want to learn from him. They want to be a sponge around him. And I think that's completely wrong. We all know how his ego is, but in a way, that's why he's so great. His self-confidence is so high. So yeah, use him because this is what he can bring. He's a game winner.
At the end of the day, that's what great players do. And yesterday we had the two Grand Cabras, the Tom Brady.
It doesn't translate well.
It's a little different. It's a little harsher when you're talking in Portuguese. But I mean, you have Tom Brady, Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, the beauty of these two guys are, they are players that if you're a fan of their teams, if you're a fan of them, you love them and you appreciate what they bring. But a lot of people hate them because they're so successful. But the one thing we can all agree, they are os grandes cabras in professional sports. Yeah. But, that does bring us to the question that, we have been kind of alluding to. Mitch talked about it in the last podcast. What do you do with Cristiano Ronaldo going into these key World Cup qualifiers, Portugal versus Turkey coming up on March 24th? And there's so much to get into here. I am very curious to ask Mitch this one. You may have been thinking differently about Cristiano Ronaldo a couple weeks ago, but now so many injury concerns, so many key players are going to be out of this game. Even if Fernando Santos was potentially thinking Cristiano Ronaldo maybe start on the bench or whatever, or blah, blah, blah. I mean, let's call spade a spade. He's going to play. He's going to start. That's just reality. I don't think they can afford not to, just given the players that are going to be out. You have Renato Sanchez out with a thigh injury and suspension. Rafael Guerreiro has COVID-19 right now. Ruben Dias has a hamstring injury. Nelson Semedo has a hamstring injury. João Cancelo will miss the semifinal with a suspension. I mean, these are some pretty big injuries. Portugal is going to be shorthanded here going into that game.
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries that we need to first kind of address before we start going into anything else. To your point about Guerreiro, I think he should be okay. I was reading an article yesterday, and they don't think that the COVID will affect his ability to get called up. He should complete his isolation unless he continues to test positive. So that is still a question mark, but they're saying as long as he recovers, he should be available for the call-up. The other one is Bruno Fernandes. He missed the game yesterday. We don't know why. Some sort of illness. I don't know that they called it COVID, but it was some sort of illness that he's sick. So that's another big one that we're potentially dealing with as well. You've got, aside from the fact that Nelson Semedo was out, Ricardo Pereira, who is normally one of the potential right backs that you'd be looking to bring in, aside from Diogo Dalot. Ricardo Pereira has also got a hamstring injury. He's not going to be available for the call-up. So there's a lot of different injury issues that we need to be looking at right now as a team. Obviously, Ruben Dias is a big one as well. So the nice thing is, guys, we've got options. We've got a massive depth and a big pool of players to choose from. So even with the injuries that we do have, I think we're all breathing a little bit easier just knowing that there is a lot of options out there. And everyone healthy 100%, this is a massive headache. It's still a headache. Even with the injuries, it's still a massive headache for them.
But do we have faith that Fernando Santos is going to be able to correctly identify that depth and be able to figure this out for that game? Like that's my concern right now.
Do we have time for a 2-hour podcast today? Because we can go down a huge rabbit hole if we go there. But yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of injuries that we're suffering with. But like Mitch touched up on, this is a squad with depth. You can have 3 players go down in the same position, and we can still put a quality player there. So I still think this won't be an excuse. We can't use this as an excuse if we do lose to Turkey. Our pool of talent is bar none. But we have to rely on Fernando Sanchez. Is he going to make some some risky picks, some players that are really in form right now, but have not had like a lot of time playing with Portugal? Is he doing it? I personally don't think he will. I think he's going to play his boring same players. And you know what? It might work. Maybe he wants experienced players to start. But yeah, is he the guy to do that? I'm not too sure.
So I mean, but that's the thing. If he doesn't go with his experienced players, right? If he goes risky, if you want to call it, and puts some surprises, everyone's going to be like, why aren't you going with your experienced players? Right?
Yeah.
If you're going with your experienced players, some people, well, maybe some of these other younger guys are in form. Why aren't they getting that call? I mean, he's in a really difficult situation here. At the end of the day, you can't be second guessing who you're going to pick, who you're not going to pick. You need to take a look at it as, all right, you have 3 possible opponents here, but the first one is Turkey. So what do you have to do to beat Turkey? What kind of game plan do you need to do? Are you going all out defensive? Are you looking for a team that's just going to be like throwing everything at the net offensively? Are you looking at a bit of a mix of both? And then what does that look like against either North Macedonia or Italy? Very likely to be Italy, but hey, anything can happen in a single game, right? They can both play super defensive. All it takes is one counterattack. Take a look at Greece 2004. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. I think that I don't know, guys. Like the last time we talked, I was saying that I was feeling really excited. I was feeling really confident going into it. I'm also feeling a little sad. I'm feeling a little sad because I'm taking a look at this. This could very well potentially be the end of this generation. Like this is the end of this era of the Portuguese national team. We've got a very exciting new era coming up, but we know that Fernando Sanchez is going to be gone. Well, we shouldn't say we know. We're very likely that Fernando Sanchez is going to be out right after this. Pep, this is very likely his last, crack at it. Cristiano Ronaldo, there's a lot of questions if he's done, after this. So there is a lot of change on the horizon. So we need to soak it up and enjoy what we can. But it is going to be very interesting to see who Portugal goes with. So what do we think? Who should be earning their spot into the Portuguese lineup against Turkey?
Well, I think first we got to look at the pool of players that Fernando Sanchez has kind of at his disposal right now. So we've kind of compiled the list to kind of go through what he's looking at. So with keepers, Christian, who are we looking at for keepers?
So I might miss a few guys. So feel free to if you're live, feel free to add. And Mitch, I'm sure you can add too. So far for the top goalies, I got Rui Patricio, Gessá, Diogo Costa, and Anthony Lopes. I think those are the 4 big goalies right now that have a favorable chance.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I agree with all 4 of those. I think those are the 4.
Who is the 4th guy?
Anthony Lopes.
No,
so
wait.
it was
Who's
Rui Patricio, Gessá, Diogo Costa, and Lopes, Anthony Lopes.
Guys, don't mind the spelling mistakes because I'm doing this on the fly.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So those 4 keepers, 100%. I'm going to ask you. Typically, it's very traditional with call-ups to go with 3 keepers. Do you go with 3? Like, do you need to go with 3 keepers?
I think personally, does that third keeper ever play?
Have you ever seen an instance where we've needed the second keeper, let alone the third keeper?
I think we live in a generation that's a little bit different because with COVID, right? What if
exactly?
So if one player might go down injured, one player might get COVID, and then you put William Carvalho in that. So,
but you know what? Honestly, you laugh, but you look, you're not wrong. We'll take a look right now for those of you who are Canadian, you'll get this term, but curling, you look at the Tim Hortons Briar going on right now, Team Gushu, they did not bring an alternate. It was just their 4 guys. Well, Mark Nichols tested positive, so now they're forced to play with just 3 guys in the playoffs, so they're handcuffed there. And I mean, that's exactly what could happen. You could have, all it takes is 1 injury, 1 COVID test, and then suddenly we're in trouble. So yeah, no, you got to go with, at the very minimum, 3 goaltenders for this.
So you go with 3. So I think 2 shoo-ins are Rui Patricio and Gessá. Gessá right now, arguably one of the best keepers in the Premier League. He's got the best save percentage in the Premier League right now. I gotta check what Wolves were doing. So another clean sheet for Gessá today against Everton. 1-0 Wolves won. So that's another clean sheet. Gessá has been in big form. So I think those two are kind of undisputed. And then you got to look between Anthony Lopes and Diogo Costa, which is interesting because they just went head-to-head with each other in the Europa League. You had Porto playing Lyon and Diogo Costa playing against Anthony Lopes. Lyon won the game. Anthony Lopes made some big saves in that game. Diogo Costa also made some big saves in that game. And Anthony Lopes actually made a comment post-game that Diogo Costa is the future for goalkeeping for the Seleção. So,
and do you agree with that? I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I think he's a really good goalie.
Keeper. And right now, you know what? Anthony Lopes, I've always been a big fan of Anthony Lopes, but I think knowing that Diogo Costa is the future, I think now you need to start getting him into this Seleção. You need to start getting players familiar with him. He needs to start training with the team at the very least. So if it were me, I would be saying out of these four, Rui Patricio, José Sá, and Diogo Costa.
So yeah, we completely agree. And I personally think
Anthony Lopes, she's been deleted from the national.
and I think like Diogo Costa, I don't think anybody can agree, even though he plays for not the best team in the world, but one of the worst actually. But Diogo Costa is the future.
Yeah.
Is the future for sure. He's a huge, massive talent.
All right, what else do we got, boys?
Okay, let's jump into defenders.
So again, Mitch, if I missed anybody,
Yeah.
I did this literally 10 minutes before off the top of my head. So Inácio, Fonte, David Carmo, Ruben Vezo, Pep, Domingos Duarte, Nuno Mendes. I'm adding the wingbacks onto this list. Rafael Guerreiro, I know he has COVID, but he could still, if he heals up in time. Diogo Dalot, Ricardo Pereira, you're saying he has a hamstring injury, so it's pretty unlikely. I added Cedric and João Mário from Porto.
Yeah, I don't think you're missing anybody.
I think I've missed a couple players here. But
a couple guys I didn't add because of injury. I don't think they'll get called.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to add João Cancelo there because even though he's on a yellow card, he would
He
still
could play
be
the
available.
final.
Yeah. Of course, he's a shoo-in.
Game, so
I didn't add him.
He needs to be
so
on that list.
yeah.
Mario Rui is another one. Ruben Semedo is another one. That I don't know if Fernando Sanchez is looking at potentially, but I think in terms of
but Semedo's injured though.
Yeah, that's why
I said Ruben Semedo.
Oh, okay.
Ruben Semedo as
Ruben Semedo, the guy, the Porto center back.
And again, guys, just to be clear for you guys watching, we're listing out a pool of players that Fernando Sanchez could be choosing for, and then we're gonna narrow him down to his 26. So look at the list here. Font and Pep, shoo-ins, obviously. They're likely going to be the starting center backs. But how many center backs do you bring in terms of backups? One or two?
Yeah. So
that's the question.
I think this is important time to add this is that last tournament, I believe Fernando Sanchez only had pure defensemen, and then Danilo obviously can set up.
Three center backs is what he
brought.
So
he does have a history of not calling too many center backs.
Yeah.
So
I think because he always sees Danilo as worst case scenario, Danilo can always fill that center back role. So if Pep and Font are your two undisputed kind of center backs there, who's your one sub? So
this is going to be adding on to a lot like what we said about Diogo Costa. I personally believe, unless David Carmo, he is another good talent.
So we've got here on the list, just so you guys know at home, Ruben Semedo out of this list, Ruben Semedo, Gonçalo Inácio, and David Carmo are the three center backs. And you said Domingos Duarte as well. Added to the list. Domingos Duarte as well.
So I personally that's ripe right now and ready to step in. Things can change. Again, like I said, with David Carmo, he's another really good defenseman. I think Inácio is the next guy to be next to Diaz, personally, as of right now, in terms of talent. Things can change. So I think it would be a good opportunity for him to go up, at least like a lot like Diogo Costa, play with the team, learn how it is, get some experience. I would call Inácio. David Carmo just came off a horrific injury. I'm sure you guys all remember. So I don't think he's ripe yet. He's a good talent. But yeah, I think Inácio, if there's only the third defenseman, I would call Inácio.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Christian there. Even though I really, really like David Carmo, And I want to see him get back to the form he was before he snapped his leg against the Port. For those of you who don't know, David Carmo is a defender with Braga. Prior to snapping his leg, he was being looked at by teams like Barcelona, Real Madrid. He was going to be making a big move away from Braga. Unfortunately, that injury set him back, but he's a big time center back for Portugal. Ruben Semedo, we've talked about him lots in the past. He just went to Porto, potentially starting to find his feet there. Could be a dupla there with Ruben Semedo and Pep for them to start forming a little bit of chemistry at Porto. Hasn't happened yet, but that could happen. But I would have to agree with you. Gonçalo Inácio has week in, week out proved, even at a young age, that he looks like sometimes a center back that's 30 years old. The way he plays with his head on a swivel. He's confident on the ball. He gets that ball out of his feet quick. His positioning is always spot on. Always been very, very impressed with Gonçalo Inácio.
Also a good ball moving center back. He's
100%.
One of watching him week in, week out. He's a really good passer, which on a Portugal team with the amount of talents and superstars that we have, I think that element would be a good addition to the Portuguese national team.
Okay, so we agree. So Gonçalo Inácio is our center back choice.
Yeah.
So we can take Ruben Semedo.
Wait, can I just add one thing? Do you want, if it was you, not Fernando Santos, would you want 4 center backs, or would you be okay with the 3?
I'd go with 3. I'd go with 3, honestly.
Okay.
I would go with 3 as well. So we can take Ruben Semedo, Duarte, and Carmo off that list.
There we go.
So those are your 3 center backs. So now let's jump to left back. So on the left back side, you've got, I think it's pretty. This is one of the easiest. You've got Nuno Mendes and Rafael Guerreiro.
Yeah,
go with the 2, as long as Guerreiro is
healthy.
Fit. If Guerreiro isn't, I would consider bringing in potentially Mario Rui.
Yeah,
from Napoli. He's always pretty steady in that role.
I got to say that's the one position in Portugal that we don't have. We have depth, but we don't have like a crazy pool of depth.
Yeah.
Although João Cancelo, he can play left back. He's a really good left back. He plays that for Manchester City.
Left back for Man City all the time. Yeah. That's why we often say he's the best left and right back in the world. So we're good with Nuno Mendes and Rafael Guerreiro at the left back positions, right back positions. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because you've got Cancelo on a yellow card. So do you still only bring 2 right backs, or do you bring 3? Because if something
hold on a second. FIFA wiped out the yellow cards. So unless you've already had your 2 and you haven't served your suspension, then you're going to miss the semifinal game. But all other players, they've had their cards wiped clean for the playoff.
No, Cancelo is suspended.
Yeah, he's suspended. I think
Turkey.
Yeah, what happened to him? He's already suspended.
Yeah.
So he's suspended. So again, knowing that he's suspended, Dalot is kind of the natural because Nelson Semedo's out. So Dalot is kind of your natural right back, your go-to right back. But do you bring a 3rd right back? Because in case something happens to Diogo Dalot in the Turkey game, you don't have anybody else. So that's kind of a little bit of a conundrum for Santos.
Yeah.
Because you got to bring them both.
It is a risk.
Definitely good. We need Cancelo if we beat Turkey and we
play Italy.
So we need Cancelo called up. But do you bring a 3rd?
That's a gamble.
Huge.
If I was to gamble, I would bank on just Diogo Dalot and Cancelo. And then if something happens with him with COVID, he's allowed to go down and we could substitute him with another right back. But definitely is a risk. Yeah.
I think you have to run that risk personally. I don't know that, because realistically, let's say something did happen to Dalot, and let's say Guerreiro or Mendes were at left back, you could potentially swap. Even though I've never seen Nuno Mendes or Guerreiro play in a right back position, I mean, worst case scenario, you could probably swap them in there, and they would. I mean, it might not be totally comfortable for them, but worst case scenario, I think that's what you would do
for sure.
But I agree. I think Dalot and Cancelo, just because there's such a depth of players that we need to try to fill in the attacking and midfield role, that I think we need to limit our options in
for
the
sure.
defense to try
I was going to say that
make
too.
way for the midfield and attacking role. So you're in agreement, Cancelo and Dalot?
Yes.
Okay. So we can take João Mario and Pereira off that list. So that's our defenders. So you're basically Font, Pep, Inacio.
I have Inacio on here? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Right there.
Do I have everyone?
Yeah, so Inacio, Font, Pep, Guerreiro, Nuno Mendes, Dalot, and Cedric. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I'm just to make things so everything fits. I know it doesn't fit the exact style, but it works. Okay.
No Cedric, Kev.
You don't want Cedric?
No.
So we're just going Font, Pep, Nuno Mendes, Guerreiro, Dalot, and Cancelo. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I can't even do this on Microsoft Word. Imagine Fran Sanch having to do this. Jeez.
He'd have his big ass glasses on.
Right? Exactly. All right. We're off to next.
Okay, we're gonna go midfielders.
Yeah.
Okay, so the pool of midfielders I have is Palhinha, Neves, the Cabra, William Carvalho. Doesn't sound as good in Portuguese, but the other Cabra, Danilo. Those who don't know, Cabra is GOAT, but okay. And then I got Moutinho, Bruno Fernandes. I gotta say, you're a fast typer. I'd still been at Cancelo up there if it was me. I got Bernard Silva.
Yep.
I'll use the short version of his name to make it easier for you. But I'll put Pot. Pedro Neto. Sergio Oliveira. Another player that's in really, really good form is Vitinha. I have Fabio Vieira. Mateus Nunes. And the other João Mario, the Benfica João Mario. Anybody I'm missing? I didn't add certain players because of injury, obviously. So,
all right, where are we going here?
So he's just confirming.
Yeah, I'm just confirming my list. Yeah, no, I think you got everybody. And again, guys, if you guys are watching live, if you guys can think of anybody that we're not adding here, feel free to shout out. So this is probably one of the most difficult
positions.
Well, it starts to get into the most difficult kind of selections. Attackers, I think, are even a little bit more tricky, but I don't want to see Portugal bring any more than one trinco. This is my opinion. I know you're going to potentially disagree with me, but out of the trincos, out of the pure sixes that we have, out of this list, you've got William, Danilo, and Palhinha. Palhinha are your three kind of trinco options, and I don't think we need to go with any more than one trinco.
Oh.
I really don't. And in my opinion, between Danilo, Palhinha, and William right now, I would say Danilo is the best out of those three. Even though I am a big fan of Palhinha, I would go with Danilo, especially because you're only going with one center back. And if anything happens, Danilo can always slot in. So he's got that versatility. So in my opinion, in terms of choosing a trinco, I would only go with Danilo.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. And Danilo, I think, is a shoe-in just because he can play the center back role. I would go with at least two trincos. At least two trincos. I would add Danilo just because of his versatility. And although William Carvalho has been playing really, really good, even scoring some nice goals, and I would still pick Palhinha just because I think William and Danilo, as good as they've been playing, they're very similar players. I don't know if you would agree with me. They're almost identical. So out of those two, I think I'd pick Danilo just because of the center back role, and Palhinha, I think he adds a different element. Although they're both number 6s, I think Palhinha can be a really good shutdown CDM. He's also a really good ball mover, which so are the other ones, but he is more direct. Whereas Danilo and William, they play more of the safe left to right passes, boring passes. Where I think Palhinha has the edge, and just in this particular category, is that he likes to shoot the ball up. He can put in passes, like long, good passes, which I think we'll need if potentially, again, Turkey is a really, really good team. We got to get through them. And same with Italy. But if we do play a team like Italy, I feel like those long getting behind passes are going to be very important, because we're going to have to be like playing counter-attacking football against them.
So let's leave Palhinha and Danilo on there. We can take out Senor Bigodes there, William.
Cabra. I'm going to be using that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kevin.
Okay, so are we taking out? Okay, so who are we taking out?
William.
Is Nev staying?
Yeah, Nev's just staying. Yeah.
And William Carvalho out.
Yeah, William Carvalho out. So that leaves those two drinks, Palhinha and Danilo. So now moving kind of forward, Neves and Moutinho, I think, are shoe-ins. Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, obviously shoe-ins. Pot. I don't know that Pot right now has room on this squad. I don't know if you'd agree with me on that.
I would, and it's not because he's not good enough. And I think him in top form, we would really need a player like him. But as of right now, this has been a tough year for him, man. Yeah. He's been, every time he's come back, he's been injured. Yeah. And last year, honestly, he was never hurt. He was so consistent, even finishing everything. This year, he's with all these injuries. It seems like every time he gets hot, boom, gets injured. So I feel like for at least these two knockout stage games, potentially 2 games, I would personally have to leave him out. Although I do think if we do make it by the time the World Cup comes, if he's healthy, I would call him up. But as of right now, I think he does not make it, unfortunately.
Okay. Sergio Oliveira.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's playing really good, but I think he's falling victim to a team that's just loaded with midfielders right now. We have so much talent. I do think, maybe not in my head, I wouldn't call him up, but I do think Fernando Sancho will call him up just because he's played there a few times. Mm-hmm. My personal opinion, I think we got better players to call up. I don't know what you think.
Man, I really, he's played really well at Roma. He's found some form there. Again, I kind of agree. I just don't know that he slots into this side, potentially with Renato Sanches out. Fernando Sanches may look at bringing in someone like a Sergio Oliveira. To me, again, I don't think he has. I think Sergio Oliveira is an 8. I don't know if you'd agree with me. Mm-hmm. So kind of in the midfield profile of players, I think he's an 8. I also think Neves is an 8. I also think. Sorry, Kev, can you bring that list up? Moutinho is kind of that semi-8, and Matheus Nunes is also that kind of 8 position. And I think if you're looking at players with the profile of kind of a fazer aquela ligação, from the midfield, who can really take the ball, lift their head, ping that long ball, even potentially make a run up, be an attacking threat, can hit it, can hit the ball, has a good shot from outside the area. I think Neves, Matheus Nunes, and João Moutinho are those kind of 3 players that fill that gap, and I just don't know that Sergio Oliveira again can fit into that role as good as I think he is right now. I don't know that I would bring Sergio Oliveira into this team right now.
And then like in that position, I know every player is a little bit different, adds a different element to the game. But I personally would like Vitinha over Oliveira. I would like Fabiet over Oliveira. I would like Matheus Nunes over Oliveira. Not to say he's not a great player and he does add a different element, but I mean, all great teams, they have a mix of very experienced players and a little bit of youthful and exuberance. And I just personally, I don't think he makes it.
So Sergio Oliveira is off the table.
This is going to be tough. This one's going to be tough. I think this is going to be the toughest out of all of them.
So Pedro Neto, I think we can make a quick determination. He's as good as he is. Pedro Neto is too fresh off of injury. He has not played for almost a year.
Yeah, I think it was even over a year.
It's been a while. Time. It's been a long time. So I think we can safely take him off.
Although we do need a player like him. I don't think right now is the right time.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. I think it's too early, but we are missing a player like that can run at defenders, really good at crossing for a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo. So yeah, it might be too soon, but I do think if we make the World Cup, he's going to be vital.
I think we can agree Mateus Nunes is a must in this team. So we can definitely put him as a shoe-in. To me, João Mario he's fallen off the wagon in terms of form for Benfica. I don't think he has a spot in this team at all. I think Fabio Vieira.
I really like that guy.
I really do too, but I'm thinking if it's between kind of a young player who can come in and add some excitement into this squad, I'm saying Vitinho over Fabio Vieira.
That was a tough one. I would probably lean towards Vitinho, not because he's better than Fabio Vieira, but I think we have a lot of players that can fill in that Fabio Vieira role. So yeah, Vitinho. I think Vitinho is the next João Moutinho, maybe with a little bit even higher, even bigger prodigy than Moutinho was. My personal opinion.
Midfielders, just to round them out: Palhinha, Neves, Danilo, Bernardo Silva, Moutinho, Bruno Fernandes, Vitinho, and Mateus Nunes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. Now the fun
stuff. The embarrassment of riches.
Yes.
Okay. So I got here Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously.
Hold on, I think I need to keep putting Jota's name down.
So which Jota? Which Jota are we talking about?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay, we'll go Cristiano Ronaldo, Jota, André Silva. We got João Felix. We got Ricardo Horta. We got Rafa. Rafael Leão. Podence. And Getch. So am I missing anybody? Would you want to add Paulinho to there?
I don't think
I'm just kidding.
I don't think he's someone.
Although
I would add maybe Otavio.
Otavio, yeah.
And just so Kevin is, and of course, we need both Diogo. Or sorry, you've got
the Cabra of Celtic.
Jota from Celtic, yeah.
Okay.
Make sure we make that distinction. It's Jota from Celtic. Yeah, I think we've got everybody. I just had Otavio on my list.
The other Jota plays Liverpool, right?
Yes,
yeah.
You've got
the not as good one. Jota B.
Jota B.
Leon. And you had Neto in that role. We talked about him already. Yeah, I think that's everyone.
Okay, so Cristiano Ronaldo, we know 100% he's on the team. Like that's not even a debate.
Same with Jota, right? Liverpool Jota.
That's right.
Yeah.
And let's just get a count here so that we know how many spots we have left. So we've got the three keepers. We've got.
So we were at 18 before we got to. So 19 with Cristiano Ronaldo. We're at 20 with Jota from Liverpool.
So we have six other spots. I think let's just start with the shoe-ins. João Felix, shoe-in.
Yeah.
You'd agree?
Yeah.
With the form he's in right now.
Andre Silva.
Man, I don't know that Andre Silva is a shoe-in.
Yeah, but just giving it on, like, he's always been called up. I personally think he might still be a shoe-in, but.
So you've got João Felix for sure.
Yeah.
I think
the reason why I said that because all the other guys have some of them have not even played for the national team, or if they've been called up, they've rarely played. So that's
So, okay, so let's say we go Andre Silva as a shoe. So then you've got, so we got 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So let's say Andre Silva and João Felix are shoe-ins.
Okay.
You've now got 2 more spots.
okay.
So we've got to pick 2 players between Ricardo Horta, who is playing for Braga right now. He's the leading goal scorer. They're the highest Portuguese goal scorer in the Portuguese league right now. You've got Rafael Leão, who is in amazing form right now for AC Milan. You've got Rafa, who's always in good form for Benfica. He's one of our best players, always really good off the bench. Daniel Pudense, right now playing for Wolves, also in very good form. All of these players have very similar characteristics. They're tricky wingers. To your point earlier, talking about Pedro Neto, who could have also slotted into this attacking role, but somebody who can pick up the ball, run at you, he definitely has that. Gonçalo Guedes, also in really good form for Valencia right now. He's scoring almost at will, playing very well. Otávio for Porto, always a player who's very dangerous. He can fill a couple of different roles, very versatile. And I don't even know that we talk about Jota from Celtic.
Man,
you
guys just wait when Fernand Santos shocks the world and gets shot up and when he scores the game winners in both games. You guys will be stunned. But no, I agree. Look, as much as I'm a fan of Jota, and I do think he is going to figure in nicely in the future of Portugal, I don't think this is his time yet. So we will easily take him out. So we've got 2 players left that we got to remove.
So I personally, although I really do like him, I think I believe when Pep's injured, Otávio's the captain. I believe he's a really good leader, brings a lot of a good element to the game, but I don't think he makes it, man. I don't think he makes it just because of the other players in form right now. I don't know if you agree with me.
I would have to agree, man. And I actually do like Otávio.
Yeah.
But again, when you're looking at these players, I just don't know that. And this is why I was telling you that I don't know that Andre Silva is even a shoo-in right now, because let's just look at some stats right now. Andre Silva right now has 9 goals. Yeah, he's got 9 goals and 2 assists. And if we look at Gonçalo Guedes right now, as an example, Gonçalo Guedes right now has 10 goals.
Yeah, still pretty.
10 goals and 5 assists.
Yeah.
In the Spanish league. So if we're looking at, between Guedes and Andre Silva, Rafael Leão, let's pull up Leão's stats right now. So Rafael Leão, give me a sec here, guys.
I think the one guy that should be called up, that would sort of be, a different element,
Jota,
is Ricardo Horta. We talked about him a lot in other podcasts. I think Ricardo Horta it's his time, man. He's literally a man on fire right now. He's scoring at will. He's scoring in Europe. He's scoring in Portugal. I believe he's in the league in terms of Portuguese players. He's the top goal scorer.
Yeah, he is.
And that's the thing is Fernand Santos has to balance
He's got 15
getting
goals
players
right now.
Yeah, 15 goals.
And that's the thing. Fernand Santos has to balance getting players who are in form, players who mix well with our traditional players on the national team, players who will match up well against against Turkey for sure, and potentially Italy or North Macedonia. And then he also has to think what his game plan is, right? Like, it's one of those things where, okay, if Portugal goes up 1-0 10 minutes into the game, you're changing your strategy, right? You're probably going heavy defense midfield, so then you're going to be looking to change things up. So maybe you're looking at bringing up someone more in the middle and to bring one less attack. Like, it's such, there's so many things at play here. It'll be really interesting, but we do need to get one player off this list. So who do you take off?
I'm going to make my choice. I'm going to go with Ricardo Horta, Rafael Leão, and Gonçalo Guedes. Those are my 3 picks, which means I'm leaving off the table André Silva, Rafa, and Pudense.
Yeah, I can
Hold
agree
on,
with that.
How many players do we need? Is it 26?
26.
So we only need one more off this list. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We have 27 players on this
we have
list.
27. Oh shit! I thought we were having to take 3. Okay, so that makes it different.
Would you take off Pulis?
So if we're only taking off one, sorry,
Yes.
so that changes this. So if we're only having to take off one player between André Silva, Horta, Leão, Guedes, and Pudense, then yes, I would take off Pudense, and I would leave.
Although that's a tricky one, I would leave off Pulis, but I think a player like him would be important to our team.
So here's a question. So here's a good, because I would agree. I think between Pudense and Rafa, those would be your 2 kind of picks if you're going to leave Ricardo Horta and Rafael Leão. So I'm going to ask you, let's say we're in a game, okay?
Yeah.
And 65th minute, 70th minute, game's tied 0-0. And we need a little bit of oomph in the attack, okay? We need some speed, we need some trickery, we need somebody creating a goal-scoring threat. And you've got Rafa and Daniel Pudense on the bench, and you're looking to take off potentially, Diogo Jota, for example. Who would you bring on, Rafa or Daniel Pudense?
So there's a lot of elements to this. So in terms of player for player, I always liked Rafa. I just always felt like he missed that last little edge at the end to finish. Correct me if I'm wrong. He does finish a lot, but I also think he burns up a lot of chances. But for these mata-mata games, I think I would lean towards Rafa just because he's proven it. He had a great tournament. But just player for player, in like an average game, I would slightly lean to pull this. Just because he's a great finish. He can finish, and his low center of gravity, he can move through players at will, almost like not obviously as good, but like a Messi. So, but I think for the mata-mata jokes, I would slightly lean towards Rafa. I don't know if you agree with me.
It's very tough, man, because I really like both of these players. Rafa, especially because he plays for Benfica, and I'm a huge fan of him. But I've been watching so much of Wolves lately, and man, Daniel Pudense is so good, dude. Like, he is such a good player, and he is that one player who I think, as much as Rafa can also do that, I think his feet are a little bit neater than Rafa's. Rafa's really just got that explosive speed. He's got good feet too, but Pudense just has a neater pair of feet, I think. And man, it would be really tough. I'm really undecided. I don't know between Rafa and Pudense. It's a toss.
So flip a coin. Okay, so if on Thursday, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, Fernand Sanch will name his roster for these for the biggest game of the year by far, and that's not hyperbole. Like, that is legit. If this is the lineup that Fernand Sanch presents, you guys are happy. You guys are thrilled. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
These are the
So then, my question, just to kind of throw a wrench into this, forget these players. Is there a player that you would just roll your eyes at that Fernand Sanch would call up? Who do you not want to get called up that you feel Fernand Sanch might call up?
This might be like not the answer you're looking for, but
Cristiano Ronaldo.
No. Of course, but I think if he brings both William and Danilo, and he calls them both, and Palinha, all 3 of them, then I think I'd be rolling my eyes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And why is that? Because you think that's gonna dictate, that's the hint, the foreshadowing of what kind of style he's going to be playing.
Yeah, 100%.
But okay, but with that being said, does it? Again, I know we like the all-out attack and we love the exciting soccer, whatever. But I mean, hey, if we're playing a tight defensive, boring game, but it gets us the win, does it matter?
See, but the thing is, I don't think it's working anymore. I think if this was a few years ago, yeah. If we were getting results and we weren't in a playoff spot, and we're already made the World Cup, and then that happened, I think you'd have more of a foot to stand on. But the fact that we are where we are with, obviously, look at these players on this list and how hard it was to eliminate players. For him to still, beating a dead horse, like they like to say, that's why I'd be a little upset. I think it's time to bring a new look, not change absolutely everything, but add a little bit of youthful exuberance, maybe change a couple things.
Yeah, I think that's the key here is Fernand Sanch has to get it into his mind. This isn't like that Serbia game, that last World Cup qualifier, which put us in this situation. We can't play to not lose. We need to play to win. Yeah. And that's the way, because if we're playing to not lose, then you open yourself up to mistakes or the lucky bounce for the other team, and then you put yourself in a world of hurt. So you have to play to win and at least try and control it that way. And if you can get that early goal, then okay, change your tactics a little bit. But it's this is what it comes down to. These are the elimination games. This is what it's all about. And Fernand Sanch has to get out of 2016 out of his head and realize, listen, we're 6 years later. It's a different world out there, and these are much different opponents. Turkey's not going to be a pushover, and who knows? It should be Italy, but I'm not convinced that, I wouldn't be surprised if North Macedonia pulls out an upset, put it that way.
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how Fernand Sanch approaches this. But I think he's proven to be predictable enough that we know that he's going to go with what he feels is comfortable. He's not going to step out of the box as much as we'd like him to. I think
because that's what the next generation, and that's why I say there's a little bit of sadness in me, because I know that this is the last push for this generation, because once this, whether it's the playoff or it's Qatar, once that's done, we're looking at a whole new Portuguese national team. There will almost certainly be a new manager. There will be new players. We don't know if Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be in the mix or not. It's going to be a very different look. It's going to be the time of the future. And that's where we're going to start seeing things shine. And I think Portugal is actually going to do quite well. Guys, we're almost up against the clock here. But final thoughts before Portugal announces its roster on the 17th.
Yeah, final thoughts is I really hope Fernand Sanch learned from his mistakes. We touched up on it just now about playing not to lose instead of playing to win. I really hope he learns from that. We take the game to them this time, not sit back, play this boring counter attack game. I'd like to see him go there and literally push, obviously with the right amount of tactics, and don't go all out, but I'd like to see him have a different look, add a few different players that we haven't seen, not a lot, but a few. Give this team some more energy, because a team like this roster, you see how long it took us to get through everything. Yeah. We have so much talent, and for us to miss this World Cup with that team, it's going to be one of the biggest fails in recent history for Portugal.
It will be the biggest fail in the last 20 years.
Year 2004.
Well, to fail to make a World Cup,
with that team,
with this pool of players would, and again,
that group, there's no reason why Portugal couldn't have gotten through that group.
Had. You talk about that famous saying, you either you either die the hero or you live long enough to be the villain, and that is what Fernand Sanch is staring in the face right now. He will go from hero, giving us the Euro, giving us the Nations League, to an absolute fucking zero, because he failed to get us to a World Cup with arguably the greatest pool of players this seleção has ever seen. And not only is it the greatest pool of players we've ever seen right now, all of these guys are in top form. So not only do you have a pool of great players, you've got a pool of great players who are playing very, very well in each of their respective teams and leagues. So What I want is for him to really, like you said, Christian, I think he really needs to see some of these guys like Rafael Leão, like Ricardo Horta. What can they bring to this seleção? How can he bring out the best of some of these guys in this seleção? And if he can try and figure that out, rather than just go with his carbon copy, kind of copy paste what he knows or what he thinks he knows is going to work best, I think that'll make us all happy, but I also think that'll give us the best results rather than just trying to go with the what he thinks is tried, tested, and true, and going to get us through these two games. Because if he does go with his tried, tested, and true, like you said, it could work. But I think we're all going to be sitting here banging our heads against the wall, saying like it's just more of the same from Fernand Sanch.
100%.
Be interesting to see what happens. We will surely have a lot of debate and discussion as Fernand Sanch names his roster on Thursday, March 17th. Portugal, Turkey coming up on the 24th. It's going to be a wild one. For the two Cabras, Mitch and Christian, I'm Kevin. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one, everyone. Stay safe.
Ciao, guys.